Welcome back to Anime Death Spiral, the only anime podcast with a real cat girl on staff. Yep, cat girls are real and they are unionized. We pay her quite a bit.
Yes, she does all the research for the podcast. That's why we're so correct about everything we say. Really informed.
We have a very robust data analytics department, too.
Yeah, those are all the cat boys, though. Not quite as rowdy.
Once again, we're back. I'm Nate. You're whoever.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You've been doing any anime?
Oh, man, anime. Oh, yes, those cartoons.
Yeah.
For adults.
You know, those cartoons that weirdo adults watch?
The weird adultish cartoons made for adults. Yeah, with all the sex and violence.
Let's not be hasty with the term adult here. They're made for an age range that would be considered adults, sure.
I turn on my anime and I whisper to myself, I'm adulting. I'm adulting right now.
I don't like that term. Please stop saying that. I don't like that term.
I'm doing my adulting right now. No, I hate that term too. I really do not like it.
It has a weird infantilization connotation.
It does. It's not even a connotation. It is directly infantilizing yourself. I feel like maybe this is a generational thing, but I feel like I got infantilized quite a lot as I was growing up. I really don't need to also internalize it and do it to myself. I'm really sick of it, actually. I would like to not be infantilized at every turn.
So let's instead talk about these cartoons for grown-ups.
Instead let's talk about cartoons.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't watched much besides the bigs. I watched another episode of Pluto, obviously. Still fucking great. That's episode 2?
Episode 2.
Fucking great. Fucking great. It's just...
Yeah, I'll get around to watching that pretty soon these days.
You've really got to get on it.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
Like, it is really good.
I am on top of that Juju, though. I'm right on the edge of my seat in that Shibuya arc.
I know I say it every time, but like we are inching towards the big event, and I've been forced to watch every episode through my fingers in horrible anticipation. I'm getting like really, really tense every time we put on an episode.
That is just filling me with so much dread every time you bring that up.
Yeah. Well, I said at the beginning of this season, hey, that's funny. We start every 20 minutes with a funeral procession. Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh, that's weird. You know what's funny is Spy Family kicked off the boat arc that I had been talking about.
Yeah.
This whole time.
Yeah, we brought that up briefly last episode. They're on the boat now.
This is a weird period for Spy Family because, like Jujutsu Kaisen, there's suddenly going to be a huge ramp up in death.
I was wondering, Spy Family is one of those shows that I have not been reading the manga. I'm a show only so far.
A shonly.
It's been one of those shows where I thought based on the premise, it was going to be a lot more leaning into the darker, violent stuff with the spies and the assassins and all that, and the political intrigue. Yeah. But for a while, at least, it really leans into like being a fun little gag comic about a family just doing like regular shit.
Well, I mean, that is what it is. I mean, that is the heart of it.
I was saying that I was surprised that it ended up being that. That wasn't what I expected going in blind, just knowing the premise, right?
Sure.
And I like that.
I mean, we end up doing a lot of Anya stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, because Anya is the best character. Anya is Gen Z Pikachu.
She is, immediately adorable. Like, it takes, like, a really fucked up kind of person to not look at Anya and be like, oh, that's really cute. You'd have to be some kind of horrible monster. But
we know they're out there. Monsters exist.
Yeah. You horrible, horrible freaks. but we are now at the part where the author clearly agreed with you, right? And actually, yours character kind of agrees with you. And so we're now like entering the part where it's like we need to reassert the premise really hard.
Well, because they go real hard with establishing their reputations, both of their reputations, Yoran and Lloyd, in the first chapter. And it's kind of like the gag is it starts off serious and then immediately goes in to the funny Anya stuff.
Yeah.
And being a family and, doing wacky adventures with the informant and all that.
I will say, every time Yuri's story comes back up, that is a less explosive, much more subtle introduction of like true darkness, because
Yuri is the worst character. I hate him.
He is like, I mean, his gag is whatever, like the whole he's doing true evil because he cares about his sister, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
like that's an excuse.
One of the things I find fascinating about Spy Family is the insidious nature of the way it portrays the subtlety of the conflict between East and West. Because Lloyd is from the West, and we never directly see the West, so we don't really know anything about it except for what Lloyd says.
He's a Western spy in what is essentially East Berlin.
That is a very loose version of it, yeah. But we are constantly led away from the more simplistic version of that, and given like a lot of room for our own interpretation, much more than you'd think a fucking gag manga would ever give you. So when Yuri, who is this horrible secret police officer, is wandering around talking about how he's protecting the East from the horrible Western gremlins, it's never portrayed as explicitly evil. Yeah. Which is a really interesting choice, because he is wrong.
For context, Yuri is, he's a Gestapo agent. He's secret police.
He's a secret police. He's an intelligence officer, a counterintelligence officer.
Yeah. And he's a true believer on top of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he does things very explicitly, like in the last episode, where he literally arrests someone for publishing political propaganda.
Yeah.
And not just arrest, but like tortures.
And he likes it.
This person.
He talks about how he likes it.
Yeah. But we are always given the room to like interpret him in a softer way. And I think that's like, that is a really fascinating and underexplored aspect of Spy Family.
Well, Yor and Yuri are pretty explicitly like they were orphan children that have been raised up in separate cults of personality.
Well,
with the Assassin Guild and then Yuri doing the secret police stuff.
What are they in Skyrim? The Dark Hand?
The Dark Brotherhood.
The Dark Brotherhood.
But it's like, come on, uninspired. Like, think of something.
Come on, you guys. Well, okay, the thing about Spy Family is that they are all war orphans. Lloyd is a war orphan. Anya is a war orphan. Yor and Yuri are both war orphans. They don't bring it up a lot, which is, again, something I like. I like that they never press those, like, I hate to say it, big scare quotes, world-building details. Mm-hmm. But I really like that horrible thing that happened to all of them and to both of these countries that has essentially traumatized the entire civilian population, is just looming in the background constantly of a very cute, like, wholesome gag comedy, right?
Yeah.
I think that's, like, a really cool, weird element of Spy Family.
Well, I think that's probably one of the most popular like elements, or one of the biggest elements that makes Spy Family popular, right? Is that dichotomy of the content versus the cutesy gag nature.
Well, there's versions of this where it is just straight up like James Bond parody stuff,
Yeah. Well, I mean, like the Bond man character,
the Bond man,
and the dog named Bond, like. It's there.
I just really like that. I love Spy Family so much, and
I do. I love Spy Family.
I'm really excited to get through this boat thing, and there is. I hate to spoil it for you. No, I don't. But we do get one of the extremely rare Lloyd backstory moments just a little bit after Boat, which is really cool and great, and I'm really excited for it. But other than that, I haven't really watched that much. I've been actually putting off watching some of the other stuff I have like on my list too, because I've been playing so much Alan Wake.
Oh, you're one of those Alan woke guys.
Well, we have had like a weird parallelism because you started playing Alan Wake 1 and I started playing Alan Wake 2.
Like right at the same time?
Yeah, weirdly at the same time without like coordinating that.
Yeah.
And I had never played Alan Wake 1.
Really?
Yeah, never. I don't even know what happens in Alan Wake 1. So it makes it very strange.
You know, Alan goes to a lake and he loses his wife. And he tries to find his wife, and there's some darkness, and he shines a flashlight at people. You know how it goes.
Yeah, he kills a lot of innocent people.
He kills a lot of people if we're taking the interpretation that he's a crazy man.
He's not a crazy man. He's not crazy, and he's not a man. He's a writer.
A subhuman.
I love video games that as they progress in this way, where like we are supposed to take them more and more at their word, where characters still just butcher people. Just obliterate massive amounts of human beings.
Ah, yes, the dreaded Ludo narrative dissonance.
But the fact that a character doesn't even comment on the fact that they are like just eviscerating an entire town's worth of people.
To be fair, Alan does comment on it, like, constantly.
He says, oh, this is fucked up.
Part of the plot of the first game is that he is being pursued by the FBI under suspicion for murdering all of these people.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Agent Nightingale.
Yes,
right?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, that dude.
The Twin Peaks references, like, subtlety has never been Sam Lake's forte, I'll say, but, like, at a certain point, you cross over into plagiarism territory.
Well, name-dropping Stephen King is very funny.
The first game starts with a Stephen King quote.
Yeah, which is crazy. I did mention this to you. I had always thought it was more of like he was a Stephen King, but then I found out he just kind of writes crime novels. Yeah. He writes the Max Payne games, basically.
No, he's not Stephen King. He's Stephen King's writer insert in a Stephen King story.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah. But then I'm playing through Alan Wake 2, and there are lots of moments where we are, like, hearing the stories being narrated to us. There's lots of narration. Mm-hmm. And whoever is writing it has aped Stephen King's style so perfectly that I kind of have to, like, give it up. Like, they're doing a really good job. Incredible Stephen King impersonation.
In 2 years, we're going to find that they generated all of that dialogue by feeding all of Stephen's books into an AI.
I'm pretty against AIs creating our art for us, but I have to say, considering the sharp turn Stephen took in his subject matter, like mid to late 90s and into the 2000s, I would take it. I don't want any more books about fucking saving JFK or like his terrible crime novel shit. Even the sci-fi stuff, I'm not really that big of a fan.
Take back those last 3 books of the Dark Tower.
That's a mixed bag. Anyway, yeah, I did watch a couple episodes of Under Ninja.
Okay. We may or may not have talked about that, but tell me about Under Ninja.
Well, we definitely talked about it when we were doing fall impressions.
Yeah, that's the one about the like post-World War II, Japan basically has an export ninja industry, right?
Well, it's like after World War II, with the fall of Imperial Japan, the official nationalized ninja system was forced to go underground, according to this anime, but has been maintained to modern times. So technically, according to the show, they are like 200,000 active duty ninjas in Japan at all times who are just in sleeper cells waiting to be activated by who? I don't know.
Charlie from Charlie's Angels.
Well, presumably someone in the government.
You would like to hope. You would hope that it's someone in the government.
Well, who else would do it? I mean, there's not really. I mean, I know there's remnants of like a royal family, but like not really.
I don't know. Maybe there's a faction of ninjas that got fed up waiting for their sleeper cell activation, and so they're like Yakuza ninjas. I'm just spitballing.
Yakuza ninjas.
Yeah.
That is a Takashi Miike movie right there.
Hell yeah.
Ninja Yakuza apocalypse. I think we dissed it pretty hard when we were talking about it. And so I was really reticent to like jump in there. But a fool is me.
Oh.
Yet again, I've made an ass of myself.
You're gonna turn back on your opinion?
Yes, my assumptions were again incorrect. I should have been more open-minded, as always. Because the first episode basically starts with this fucking NEET just fucking around in his shitty little apartment, waiting for assignments. And he basically spends his days complaining about how he never has anything to do and how he's the lowest rung of ninja and how he'd rather just like do something else, but you're not allowed to leave ninjadom. They'll just kill you if you want to quit.
Oh, that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. So you're forced. I don't know if you've ever heard about what happens in teachers' unions to teachers who lose their jobs but aren't disciplined by the union, I suppose, where they end up essentially in these like in between like liminal spaces where they just go to an empty room and sit there all day instead of teaching because technically they're still employed, but they're not allowed to do anything. That's a very weird story. If you're curious about that stuff, you should go look it up because, man, it's fucking weird.
Listen, everything I know about teachers' unions, I learned from The Simpsons.
Teachers' union. Let me be clear. Teachers' unions are good.
Oh, yeah.
I support teachers' unions. I'm just saying this one particular aspect of them is extremely weird. But this kid has found himself in the rubber room, essentially. He doesn't get any work, so he doesn't have any money, so he's living essentially in poverty. But he can't do anything about it. So he's just fucking around. He's like not doing anything with his life. He's not doing anything with his days. He steals his neighbor's beer every once in a while, and that's like the most exciting his life gets until a character, this like FedEx guy, shows up and he's like, I don't really know what the deal is. I don't have any orders for you, but here's a box that some mysterious guy sent to you. I hope it gives you something to do with your time.
That's a weird thing for a FedEx delivery guy to say.
Well, he's a ninja FedEx delivery guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and we know this because he just enters the apartment without our main dude noticing, and he goes, oh, he got behind me so fast. He must be a ninja.
That really speaks to the quality of his own ninja skills rather than the guy sneaking into his apartment.
Yeah, and I will say I've watched a few episodes now, and it is never made clear whether our main character is actually like good at being a ninja, which is one of the parts I really like about it. I watched at least 3 episodes where no fighting occurred. None at all. No violence, which is pretty rare for an anime about ninjas battling.
I mean, I like that. You know, I like when the premise gives itself time to kind of like grow at its own pace, especially with something like this. I don't think that it necessarily has to be action focused. I think it's better when you treat it more like a story about a dude who hates his job.
Yeah, and that's very much what it is. It's this guy who sits at the bottom rung of his industry. He has no prospects, no way to advance his career because what are you going to do? You're a ninja. You can't go freelance. You just sit around waiting to do what you're told. And his life sucks, and he doesn't like doing it.
I mean, is that addressed within ninja society? Like, if you're not allowed to leave, do they just, like, force these dudes to starve to death inside their apartments? Is that just how it works?
No, they don't starve to death, but they become, like, shut-ins. They give barely enough service, like social services, to like live in their shitty apartments. They just have to have subsistence living, basically.
But they're not allowed to leave and like go get other jobs or make their own money other ways.
No, because they have to be able to take jobs at literally a moment's notice, and they also have to maintain cover identities if they go out into the world. So the more that they are seen as themselves, the less opportunity they're going to get to work, right? So they have to hide all the time. Really shitty situation.
Yeah,
right?
It seems like a bad setup. I would not choose to be in that situation. Let me tell you what.
And I do wonder how one becomes a ninja in this setting. I can't wait to find out. Because this show.
Well, it sounds like something you're born into.
I guess you'd have to be, right? I don't know. I don't know how they recruit, but maybe that'll get addressed. I'm excited to see if it does, because honestly, this show completely, like I said, blew away all my expectations. It is like weird in a great way. It's I'm really excited to see where it goes. I do dread that it does like devolve into a very generic shonen, because it still has that potential. It is still about. I
mean, that's the fear
ninjas.
Of any new anime that we get into, right? Is that it's going to devolve into just kind of its base components and no longer be interesting.
Yeah.
Abandoning the premise is one of the cardinal sins.
We keep talking about it, and we just talked about it in Spy Family. Like, it's, it's very easy to just like deteriorate after any interesting thing happens in your story and just like go back to base elements. So my fingers are crossed.
Well, we can only hope for the best. Can I tell you about something that has no redeeming qualities?
You mean anime? Yeah, tell me about some anime.
All right, well, I watched Berserk.
Oh, shit.
Of Gluttony.
Oh, of Gluttony.
Berserk of Gluttony.
That doesn't sound good at all.
No, that is possibly one of the worst titles that I've come across recently.
Yeah, why is it called that?
I don't know.
It's not addressed in the first episode?
I can only surmise the meaning, but let me start you with the premise here. So we have a Dragon Quest, basically.
Okay.
Which, again, people, we're sorry. We're sorry for our opinions expressed in the previous episode.
Stop!
Please,
don't even bring it back up. Don't even bring it up.
We have to address the death threats. I'm getting them.
Oh my god! I just ignore it. I cannot do this again.
No, we have your standard Dragon Quest fantasy world, and it's doing that thing where it's not explicitly a video game. At least I don't think so. It's not an isekai, but it is a fantasy world where the characters, the people living in the world, explicitly talk about it in video game terms.
Yeah.
Like gaining experience and levels and stuff like that.
Right.
But it is not a game being played by anyone.
This is just a world that has been systematized as if it was a video game.
Exactly. And so within that framework, they do that thing where everybody is born with like their one unique quality, right?
Ugh, yes, and more fucking bloodlines shit that I hate so much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so our main character, who a lot of great names in this show, I will say.
Yeah.
His name, our main character's name is Fate Graphite. Yeah.
That's pretty good. Oh, that's funny. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a mechanical pencil. Yeah. Gotcha.
He's a loser with no money.
What?
Yeah. He's a loser with no money.
But his name's Fate.
Apparently he had to wait a while to live up to the name.
Okay, probably 14 to 16 years.
No, he's a lowly nobody, like errand boy who works for one of the big shot noble houses in this city state that they live in, and his like one unique quality that he was born with, which and this is again. I'm really wondering if they are going to just reveal that it is like a video game being played.
Yeah.
Because it seems that the context with the unique quality stuff is that everybody seems to be able to kind of go into a like inward meditative state that is analogous to like a character menu.
Okay. This is yes. So they have a status window, basically, right?
An internal status window. It's not literally
yeah.
in front of them like in other like isekai stuff.
Right.
But they you know, their internal thoughts are visualized as a status window.
Yeah. So this is kind of funny because I don't know if we talked about this ever, but this is like a specific subgenre of the Dragon Quest fantasy slash intruding into the isekai as well is the status window fantasy. Because this is its own thing. Like this exists. It has its own life across other things. Especially like Korean manhwa is like really into this. You see it a lot in stuff like Solo Leveling or like Skeleton Soldier Couldn't Protect the Dungeon is all about the status window RPG kind of thing.
There was one I saw called cooking in another world with my one weird skill, where his weird skill is that he can summon like an Amazon groceries status window.
Oh yeah, right,
and pull in like food wherever he is.
Yeah, yeah, cool, dude, cool. What a great power.
Yeah. Well, so back to Fate Graphite.
Yes, please bring us back to Fate Graphite.
His one weird skill is gluttony. Whatever that means.
Oh God!
In the anime, it seems to mean that he's just always hungry.
Yeah,
which sucks. That is kind of like a like Greek tragedy, torturous punishment of an existence.
Yeah, I'm
to always be hungry no matter how much you eat.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that shows up in Dante's Inferno.
Yeah,
like, that is one of the rings. It's like truly hellish.
And so he works for this noble family and. You know, the three noble knights, which are also siblings, I think.
Cool.
I think someone said that they were siblings at one point. They're basically like, they're the mean girl clique. They're the mean hero clique.
The stepsisters.
Yeah.
Evil stepsisters.
So we have a leader and his brother and his sister that are like his underlings.
Gotcha.
And they're like the three hotshot heroes in this city.
And then his fairy godmother shows up and takes him to the ball.
But kinda, because...
Cool.
Well, so they do, like, the classic anime bullying stuff to him, right?
Right.
And then...
They carve kill yourself into his desk.
Yeah, basically. They push him down into horse dung.
Yeah. They put trash in his shoes.
Yep. And so, you know, he just kind of lives a shitty existence of a life. Until... he, like, kind of makes friends with another knight from one of the other noble houses. What I'm assuming is going to be the female, like, romantic lead character that he crushes on for the rest of the series.
Oh, okay.
And her name is Roxy Hearts.
What?
Yeah.
Like from Chicago?
Yeah. Like, from Chicago.
Does she look like Roxy?
No. She's like a blonde anime chick.
That's so weird.
Yeah. I have to wonder if the author is just like really into Chicago when he was writing these characters. I'm assuming that this is one of those ones that's based off a light novel. I'd have to look into it, but it feels very light novel to me.
That actually supports your theory about it pulling back at some point to be a video game, because that is like something like, oh, I can't think of a good username. I watched Chicago the other night. I'm just going to use Roxy Hart.
Well, okay, that's what I thought, but these characters are portrayed as like living and existing in this world full time.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they're going for here.
It's really fucking weird.
So anyway, she like kind of comes in and is like, "Hey, don't let those bullies get you down. I've seen you work around town. You do good stuff. You're a good kid. Why don't you come work for my family? We're the cool rich people."
Oh yeah, the benevolent lords. Yeah.
And so later that night, she asks him to accompany her. Well, she does some guard work, and he spots some thieves. And, you know, alerts her to their presence. She goes off to, I don't know, brutally murder some shadowy figures in the city.
Yeah, butcher some poor people.
Yeah. and he stays behind to guard whatever it is they were guarding. and he kills one of the thieves with his flag, basically. He's a standard bearer most of the time. That's like his job.
Oh, he's holding a big flagpole?
Yeah, but it has like a spear tip at the top.
Oh, great. Cool.
And so he finally gets a chance, and he earns an experience point. His first experience point.
Just one?
Yeah.
Wait, he gets 1 XP?
For killing an already injured thief, yeah. He only got pickup XP for an assist.
Only 1, though? Man, that's...
It's not a great return.
Jeez.
But
that sucks.
It's enough to activate the true power of his gluttony quality, which is actually super rare and one of the forbidden devil qualities.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. And what it does is 3 things. It gives him telepathy.
What?
On anybody that he's touching for some reason.
What?
Yeah. Not sure. They haven't explained the thematic reasoning for that power, but he discovers that anybody that he's making physical contact with, he can read their thoughts.
Wow.
He gets he gets scan or identify, basically. He can see enemy and weapon stats.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So again, more evidence towards the video game theory.
Wow.
And finally, the true power of gluttony is that when he kills enemies, he can convert experience points directly into like raw stat increases instead of waiting for a level up like point.
What?
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense.
He can level up with every single XP?
Exactly. It's so instead of accumulating experience and leveling up after a certain threshold, he can basically 1 XP translates into 1 direct stat increase.
Okay, well what are these stats looking like? Are we on a 1 to 100 scale?
That's the best part. I don't know what the stats are because every time the menu comes up, all of them are represented in like weird nonsense fantasy language.
What? They don't show you?
He just says, oh, hey, my stats are going up.
Oh my god. That sucks so much.
He mentions vitality at one point and strength.
Ugh. I don't like the sound of that.
Yeah.
So this is always a weird sticking point for me, is like, this is a world where you only get experience from killing human beings?
No. He gets most of his once he discovers what his power is, he goes and kills 100 goblins. I'm not kidding with that number. They say it explicitly. He says, "Oh hey, I just killed 100 goblins."
But do goblins not count as like a sentient race?
I mean, short answer, no.
Well, then why does he not get XP every time he crushes an ant or a cockroach or like eats a chicken or whatever?
Well, that's a good question that is yet to be answered. I mean, the obvious one is that it's a video game, right?
Yeah. That's been systematized in a way to
at this point
encourage...
it's so obvious that that's what they're doing. I would be incredibly disappointed if they explicitly point it out.
Yeah.
I want them to try and maintain this, like, some semblance of a veil for that through this thing.
Yeah, just play it completely straight-faced.
Like, yeah, no, that's not the game narrator that is talking about the stats. That's God. God is... God created Dragon Quest as a universe.
Yeah, and you just have to live in it. Yeah, the thing about that is in a very existential way, like the metaphysical way, it necessitates the existence of goblins, because an experience system like that logically would drive all rational human beings into non-stop mass murder, right? Mm-hmm. It would be a world where peace is never attainable because power comes directly from murder. That would be even more hellish than being always hungry. This would be one of the worst possible things that could ever happen.
I mean, that's what Saiyan society in Dragon Ball Z is, right?
Yeah, sort of.
That's why their planet got blown up. Because they
Yeah.
had no society because they were all fighting each other all the time.
Yeah, because they were super fighters.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they were just about, like, who's stronger. I'm talking about a society that is literally, like, systematically organized around murder. Not fighting, but the taking of human life.
It doesn't matter how you kill or how you do it to get the experience. It just, upon death, you get experience from whatever you killed.
In fact, I'm imagining that there would be people who, much like veal or pate, would keep prisoners and slowly feed them items and XP until they are worth enough to make their murder like worth taking.
Oh, that's dark.
It's extraordinarily dark. I don't want to be the CinemaSins guy, but like a world which incentivizes on like a literal, like physical level, the absolute annihilation of all life. I mean, that is the most horrifying thing anyone could ever imagine.
Well, I mean, that's basically what we're doing in our co-op game of Baldur's Gate right now, right?
Yes, it is. Except at least in Baldur's Gate, you can get XP from, like, discovering new places or talking to people or whatever. You don't have to kill every single person. I
mean, a system like that produces, in the end, a being akin to Galactus, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Or Unicron, just a devouring force that travels across the universe, acquiring more experience.
Yes, essentially.
And requiring, like, greater levels of death and destruction each time.
I mean, it really ends up being, like, the comic version of Thanos, where you are just the bringer of death for death's sake.
I mean, this would all really be solved if they just patched in scaled leveling for NPCs in the universe.
Well, I mean, this is why they put the goblins in, clearly.
Yeah.
So you have something to genocide that you don't feel as bad about. Because imagine if they were no goblins, and episode 1 is about him going to a refugee camp and killing 100 refugees and going out and being like, I'm still the good guy, though.
And the show is very iffy on how sentient it wants the goblins to be, because they're never portrayed as speaking with language, but they are smart enough to, like, set up ambushes and use, like, signals on when to attack.
Yes,
like,
so
caravans and stuff.
Yes, the absolutely, like, most racist elements of fantasy are ported directly into this system.
Oh yeah.
The lower savage, right? The fucking, like, Heart of Darkness shit,
Uh-huh.
It's truly, like, jaw-droppingly awful if you think about it for even 1 second.
And it doesn't stop there with this kid. That's only part 1.
Yeah.
So he's got great stats now because he went out and did a little genocide.
Sure.
Again, his special forbidden power lets him basically super level, right?
Uh-huh.
But he doesn't have any money now. Still no money.
Oh, they don't drop loot?
Nope. At least not the goblins.
Wow.
Well, actually, that's not true. They address that later. So he goes... Actually, I got ahead of myself. Before he went and genocided the goblins, he used his identify power to go to a weapon shop and was like, hey, I've got 2 pennies. Like, what can I buy? And they're like, hey, get out of here, kid. You're trash. Like, we don't want poor people in our shop.
What, they don't have hardtack?
Well, so he's like, actually, wait, hold on. If you want to buy something, all you can afford is that barrel over there that has all the trash weapons, right?
Yeah.
And so he goes over and he uses his new identify power on the trash weapons.
Oh, no.
And he's like going through, he's like, oh, wow, these all suck.
No.
Oh, what do you think is going to happen? What are you expecting right now?
No, don't tell me. Please don't tell me he finds the legendary weapon that's all rusty and shit. Please don't tell me that's what happens.
That's exactly what happens.
Oh, I hate this.
It's even more than that. It's not only a legendary weapon, it's sentient.
How did nobody notice this?
You're asking me. He says, like, oh, wow, this has decent stats, but it's unloved. And then the sword starts talking to him. And the sword immediately...
I hate this so much.
The sword acts basically as the, not narrator, but,
The spirit guide?
the explainer.
The lore dump?
The lore dump, thank you. And so he finds this sentient sword whose name is Greed.
Oh, fuck.
Seeing a pattern there.
Yeah, this is becoming more odious by the second.
Yeah. And so the sword is the one who tells him about his new gluttony power leveling, like stat consuming power.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And so he's like, all right, so now what you got to do is you have to go out and kill a bunch of goblins, right? And then that'll raise your stats. And so he does what the sword tells him to do. He's like, all right, now you got to cut off all their ears and bring them to the Adventurers Guild so we can get some money.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's brutal.
That's fucking awful.
Do you want to know? Do you want to know how much money he gets from 100 goblin ears?
What, like $20?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what the exchange rate is, but he gets 2 silver and 80 copper. So I'm just gonna say $2.80.
Well, okay, so you can buy a rusty sword with 2 cents, right? That's
Yeah.
what you said?
Yeah.
Okay, so we can kind of calculate from there, like, how much can you buy scrap metal for right now? Rusty piece of metal, you could probably buy that for like $10.
Okay. So all right. So a hefty amount from murdering all of those living things.
This is awful, man. This is really awful.
And so that's kind of where we leave off the first episode. Actually, it leaves off on a cliffhanger where he's kind of like wandering around and he notices like a shady dude pulling a girl that looks like she's in distress. And so he bumps into her to read her mind, and she's being kidnapped, and so he follows them, and he tries to scan the dude to see what his stats are, and realizes that dude's power or unique quality must be that his stats can't be scanned.
That's the worst power ever. Oh my god.
And that's how the first episode ends.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like obfuscation can have its benefits, right?
Sure, but that's extraordinary. I mean, you mean as a power in this fantasy world?
Well, okay, no. Unique traits are different from powers. They're explicit about that.
Okay, so everybody's born with two things, 2 inherent qualities.
No. Everyone is born with a unique trait, but whether or not like it's a cool or good thing, seems to be a toss-up. Like he just thought like that his trait was that he was hungry all the time, and that was normal to people that he explained it to.
Okay, so everyone's born with like horrible quirks.
Yeah, basically.
Everybody's a mutant.
Unless your mutant power is like one of the cool powers that lets you shoot lasers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So basically, everyone's a mutant.
But I would say like 90% of the mutants are just like benign. It's like if X-Men, but most of the mutants at the school just had tumors.
Well, most of the kids at the school were like the ones that couldn't pass, right? Isn't it? That was the whole idea, is that you needed a place for the mutants that couldn't pass as humans.
Well, it was for the ones that couldn't pass or the ones whose powers were too dangerous to be left unattended.
Yeah. So you have to imagine, in X-Men world, I mean, like, a lot of people are mutants. They just, like, either never even notice or they can totally hide it.
I mean, I'm sure that we're not the first person to bring up that point about X-Men.
No, I'd say that it's very explicit in X-Men, right?
Yeah.
I mean, imagine the one, I think I read some manga a while back that was very much like this, but like, imagine, oh yeah, this is like in Agin Demi-Human, where certain people are born as immortals, but you don't get to find that out until you die, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, yeah, unless you encounter a life-threatening situation and then you don't die, how would you know?
Exactly. So you have to die to find out, and most people don't do that. So you'd never find out.
So there's just a bunch of unwitting immortals out there that don't know it yet?
Exactly. There's no other way to tell.
See, that's a pretty fun... I like that. That's a fun concept.
Agin Demi-Human. Pretty good. It gets a little edgy for its own good in the back half. But I still like it. Agin's good. This sounds very bad.
Yeah, no, this sucks. I hated it.
Yeah, well, now can you explain to me the rationale behind just tossing this one on?
Well, I was looking for something to watch, and it was one of 2 titles on the totally legal and cool streaming website that I watch anime on.
Yeah, Crunchyroll.
Yeah.
Yes.
Crunchyroll.
Crunchyroll.
They had a top 9 anime list over to the side, and this and the Demon Sword Master of Excalibur Academy.
Oh yes, right.
Yeah.
Of course. How could you forget the Demon Sword Master of Excalibur Academy?
It's so hot right now. It's number 4 on this list.
Yeah, and that's not a mouthful at all.
Yeah. And so this was just below that, and I had to give it a shot. I want to know what's out there.
Now, I did spend quite a long time talking last episode about how Pluto is an extraordinary masterpiece and should be immediately watched by anyone. And you said, yeah, definitely. I'm going to watch Berserk of Gluttony instead.
Listen, I don't need to explain how my self-hate manifests to you or to anyone out there. I'm just trying to follow my heart, man. And in this particular case, my heart wanted to watch Berserk of Gluttony. Is that so wrong?
Not in this particular case. I seem to remember many such cases. This seems to be an ongoing behavioral pattern for you.
Listen, one of us has to be out there sorting through this trash.
I guess that's true. How can I argue against that? I'll be the one who watches good stuff. You'll be the one who watches bad stuff.
Listen, if that's how it has to be, so that these dear, beautiful listeners will know what's good and what is bad in an objective and true and legal format, then that's what I'll do. But I'm committed to this.
I still end up watching a lot of bad stuff, though. So why is that?
Well, that's on you. I'm not telling you to do that.
Yeah, also, you did complain quite a lot when I asked you to watch your Punishment Fate series. I seem to remember you calling them awful.
Oh, yeah, they suck, and I hate it. And
Yeah.
I watched them until I couldn't anymore.
Yeah.
Which was very fast. like 4 or 5 episodes, I was out.
Yeah, you should finish those. You should really finish those.
Why are you pushing those on me? Why?
I really want you to finish those. If you can watch an episode of Berserk of Gluttony, you can finish at least one Fate series.
Okay, fine. I don't get it though, but fine. I will watch it just so that we can discuss what you see in this.
Yes, thank you. Okay, let's take a break before I start yelling at you at this shit.
All right.
Okay, folks, so we've argued enough. I've beaten Nate into submission, so I think it's time to come back and talk about something that is not bad and is, in fact, very good. Nate, let's talk about Jojo, because you've recently went on a little bit of a Jojo journey, right?
I wouldn't say recently. I've been kind of going on this Jojo journey for several years now.
Right, yes, but you've reached an interesting inflection point in your JoJo journey.
Yes, well, I haven't been reading the manga. I've watched all of the anime so far, and I went and I watched the Takashi Miike adaptation of Diamond is Unbreakable Part 1.
Hell yes. And this is a Takashi Miike house. We respect Takashi Miike in this house.
Takashi Senpai.
This is a pro Miike space. So you finally watched it.
I did.
We had been kind of putting these off. We'd really been sparse on our live-action adaptation beat. But you finally watched another one.
I did. I was bored one stormy Sunday evening. And I thought, why not? Let's see. I hadn't had enough after Ichi the Killer. Let's see what he's cooking with Jojo.
Wait, hold on a second. Did you finish watching Ichi the Killer?
I don't want to talk about that right now.
Did you ever go back and watch the rest of that movie? Oh, no. Oh, no.
I told you I didn't want to talk about it.
Oh, my God. Now I'm mad again. Fine. We won't talk about it. Oh, my God. I'm so mad at you.
See what I have to deal with, folks?
Yeah. People would be really sympathetic to you in this scenario. Yes, totally. Tell me about Jojo, you bastard.
I didn't know what to expect. Like, okay,
yeah, no shit. You haven't even finished one of his movies. Okay, go.
Okay, can I go?
Go.
I didn't know what to expect. How do you adapt something like Jojo, let alone Diamond is Unbreakable, which is like really the start of when Araki starts getting into like the weirder concepts for stands and how they battle. We get a little bit of it near the end of Stardust Crusaders, but that for the most part is still like a battle anime about beefy ghost men fighting each other, right?
Yes, for the most part, Stardust Crusaders doesn't need multiple chapters just to explain how one person's stand powers work.
Yeah, exactly. That's a very succinct way to put it.
Yeah.
In Diamond is Unbreakable, right off the bat, we are set with, Josuke's crazy diamond stand. And his power set is ill-defined and amorphous at best, I would say, in the anime.
Let's say it continuously evolves.
Yes, well, that...
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that's almost a thematic quality of it, right?
Well, of all the JoJos, really, when you think about it, that's kind of their defining trait, is their stands level up for some reason.
They continue to get better. Yeah. And they usually have some kind of, like... ultimate form that they attain at the end of their arc.
Yeah, their third evolution.
Yeah. And so Crazy Diamond is like, as far as, okay, tell me if I'm missing stuff, but basically its main power is that it can destroy and then return to the original state of things that it interacts with.
Yeah, sometimes it's portrayed like he can rewind physical objects into a previous state. Sometimes it's portrayed like he is healing the object.
Mm-hmm.
It really depends on the context because it is not consistent at all.
One of the iconic scenes from the beginning of that arc that they do in the movie is, Josuke's mom's being held hostage by the murderer, or maybe it was just a thug. Anyway, he punches his mom through her chest.
Yeah, it's so cool.
To get at the hostage taker, and then selectively heals her and punches him, which is very cool.
Yeah, that's some 80s action movie shit.
So right off the bat, this is the one where we're getting into the kind of the more out there stuff. And it's, I mean, I love Takashi Miike. We love Takashi Miike.
Uh-oh, here it comes.
I didn't think the CGI looked good.
CGI is weird. It's rough in a way that is truly distinct from the way bad CGI was in the West, which I find very interesting. It's CGI from the early 2000s. When was it? Mid-2000s?
2011.
2011.
Yeah.
End of the 2000s.
The other, and this is the only other major criticism I had about it, was that the adaptations of the costumes, which, I mean, JoJo is all about the fashion, right?
Oh, yes.
The visual flair that is in JoJo is I would say cannot really be found anywhere else, at least in anime that I've seen. At least not in the levels that we see it in JoJo.
There is nothing that looks quite like JoJo on many levels.
I would say Oda in One Piece. Like he has a real eye for some interesting character designs. Real loud stuff.
Oh, sure.
He's not afraid to give somebody a feather python or a feather boa.
Yes, but he is, of course, from the Saturday morning cartoon school of fashion design.
Where all fashion has to be indicative of your character quality.
Well, yeah, and also it's like, whoa, that guy's wearing one color on one side and another color on the other side. Whoa. Whereas, Araki is doing Paris Fashion Week.
I mean, what it boils down to is that Araki understands that the absence of clothing, the absence of material is just as important as the overall outfit.
Oh, yes, he does. Yes, he does.
Listen, in his own immortal words, the point of JoJo was always about drawing beautiful men, and he sticks to that through and through. Even in Stone Ocean, where the cast is mostly women.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's extraordinarily successful at it, too. I mean, the man can follow through.
So I guess what I'm saying is that the live action, interpretations of their outfits, by necessity, it could not be as outlandish while still remaining any sense of functionality with being a live action, with perceiving it as live action. Does that make sense?
Yes, I think as much as I love Mike, and I will not say a bad word about the man, there are very few filmmakers I could think of that could nail the costuming that would be truly appropriate for a JoJo movie. I mean, that is a huge task, and just 99% of productions are gonna whiff on that one.
Which is a shame, because again, it was one of my favorite concepts, about JoJo, or qualities. And to that, Josuke's whole character design is one of my favorite JoJos.
He's so cool.
Those 2 points aside, I like the movie. I think it's a very weird take on the start of Diamond is Unbreakable, because they kind of the whole serial killer subplot, I feel like that got rolled in from something that happened later in the anime / manga, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's definitely a compression, but I feel like that is a pretty natural move for an adaptation like this.
Well, what I really liked was that, and this is skipping ahead, but the movie ends with kind of the introduction of Killer Queen, right?
Yeah.
And so we're already skipping a lot. The main plot of the movie is Josuke meeting, what's his name? Weird little dude with the egg stand.
Oh yeah, the horrible little man.
Yeah.
I do forget his name every time.
Yeah. Anyway, they meet up, and they basically carries through the arc where he meets the two brothers that have like the weird fucked up mutant dad.
Oh, his name is Koichi.
Koichi,
right,
yeah,
right,
little
right,
Koichi.
Right. Oh, the other little fucked up guy is called Shigekio.
Shigekio, yeah. But the movie kind of carries through that very first arc that kind of introduces us to the stand arrow, right?
Yes.
And we've kind of truncated this in the film to where it appears that...
Kira.
Yeah, Kira.
The killer, Kira.
It's kind of truncating to where Kira is now directly responsible for, using the stand arrow. I'm assuming what they're going for is that he's kind of creating stand users to throw shade on his own serial killing.
Yeah, well, you remember in Diamond is Unbreakable, his dad has the arrow. Or his ghost dad or whatever. That was a really weird sequence.
Right! I totally forgot about his ghost dad.
His ghost dad. And, what's great, too, is like...
Man, I love Jojo.
Yeah, Jojo's fucking great. Diamond is Unbreakable introduces Rohan Kishibe.
Mm-hmm.
Now tell me, because I can't remember, does he make it into the movie?
He's not in the movie, no.
Oh,
No, the movie ends pretty abruptly with what's their other friend's name?
Okuyasu.
Yeah, with Okuyasu and his brother, and Okuyasu's now on their side, and they defeat his brother.
Right.
And then the movie ends with Killer Queen's little bomb drone coming in and blowing up the brother, and that's where we leave off.
Right.
And what I was trying to say is that I like this idea that the movie is kind of setting up this whole serial killer subplot with Josuke's grandfather kind of being like the hard-boiled retiring detective trying to bring this guy down, and they have like a history together. And then that dude just dies like halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
And then we're doing stands. It's stands, baby.
Yeah.
And then we once again bring back this serial killer element by reintroducing Kira now, who is, a serial killer. Like that's his role. And I would call Diamond is Unbreakable overall like a serial killer, like mystery story.
Absolutely. I mean, we were talking about Alan Wake being sort of derivative of Twin Peaks, but like a lot of people say Diamond is Unbreakable and the town of Morio, which comes back a lot, like in weird places in JoJo history, is sort of riffing on Twin Peaks as well. Though in Araki's case, he does things a little different, and so we are dealing with not just like a serial killer, but like the craziest supernatural phenomena you could possibly imagine. You know, if they had continued making these movies, at some point they would have had to address the literal shape-shifting alien that shows up.
Well, do they have to address it? Again, I feel like by calling this part 1 and then, being very poignant at the end about saying like, all right, we're bringing in Kira now, because I remember that the Stand era was originally introduced by whichever villain had the electricity stand, right? That kind of had like a bird face, and it could travel through power lines.
Well, the original Arrow introduction happens in Stardust Crusaders.
Well, yes.
Yeah, by the old granny.
Yes. I'm talking about its introduction in, not the Arrow's introduction, but the scene where his brother dies.
Right,
he gets killed from basically off screen by a mysterious assailant. And in the movie, that is Killer Queen / Kira. But in the manga and anime, it was someone else, another villain that they later defeat, and then goes on to, connect them to Kira. Because Kira he's trying not to get found. Like, that's his main motivation. He just wants to live a simple, clean life. Well, occasionally, killing some people.
Yeah.
Which, there's nothing wrong with that. I agree with that.
Yeah, you're into that.
Yeah. I wonder, do we know why they never made a part 2?
I'm going to say it did not make its budget back. I'm pretty sure about that. But I actually don't know, because obviously JoJo is like an extraordinary smash hit. I think maybe it's just one of those things where, the globalization of the film industry makes it very, very hard to make one of these massive franchise pieces without like international success, right?
Right.
And I think JoJo just hadn't broken enough in like the US and Europe for a continuation, which is such a fucking shame. You'd think that Takashi Miike's involvement, like to begin with, would have been enough to push us over, but
well, outside of people within the international film and like cult movie niche, how popular is Takashi Miike in the West? Well, okay, so like 90% of the film discourse where I heard Takashi Miike's name brought up, it was almost always centered around like, oh yeah, Quentin Tarantino loves this guy. Like, that's the extent of my experience with his reputation in the West.
That's a very unfortunate circumstance, I think, to find yourself in.
Newsflash, worst person you know likes the thing you like.
I think it's more like, oh, Tarantino's talking about how much he likes you. I can't wait to see all of your best work show up in his movies.
Well, I mean, the blood spray in Kill Bill. That's all Miike.
Oh, I mean, Tarantino steals so much from Japanese film. You know, Lady Snowblood alone accounts for a lot of Kill Bill. And Lady Snowblood, by the way, go watch that movie. It fucking rules so hard. Yeah, I think the problem for Takashi Miike maybe is exactly that kind of thing where he ends up being talked about as a cult director, right? Which I feel like is not good. Not good for your career.
I mean, you know, I looked it up, and if we're talking about him, like, based by his body of work, he's a TV guy.
Well, he's made 100 million things.
Yeah. Dude genuinely loves making movies. Or maybe he doesn't. Maybe he pathologically hates making movies, but he's compelled to.
I think he has a mania, you know? I think he can't not make movies. He's constantly doing it.
He's like Hayao Miyazaki. I've got to keep making movies or I have to address the fact I hate my son.
Yeah, except Hayao Miyazaki doesn't make 6 movies a year.
And direct 3 TV specials in between those.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Takashi Miike makes movies the way Stephen King wrote books when he was on cocaine.
Yeah, he would publish tomes 3 times a year. Yeah. Nobody really did it like that. And nobody really does it like Takashi Miike in the film industry, except for like guys who worked during the 40s to the 60s where they would just crank shit out, you know?
Yeah.
You know, Hitchcock, famously would just do stuff. Like, he would just do grindhouse, the equivalent of grindhouse shit, in the 30s and 40s. He would just, do stuff. And be like, I don't care if it's successful or not. I'm just doing this for the money. And became one of the most celebrated filmmakers in history. So, I mean, what does that say about Takashi Miike?
I think it speaks to the problems with the film industry as a whole, rather than anything about any individual filmmakers.
Yeah, I don't know. I like this JoJo movie a lot. I like Takashi Miike a lot. I love this JoJo movie. I was devastated to learn that they were not going to make any more. It's so fucked up how many terrible Marvel movies exist and we do not have a sequel to JoJo. What is happening?
I mean, if even one Marvel movie had the style and ambition that the visuals of a JoJo chapter or episode does, it would give me a glimmer of hope. I still wouldn't watch them because they're stupid movies for dumb babies. But it would make me feel better about it, I guess, a little bit. I just love looking at Jojo, man. Jojo's great.
Yeah, Jojo's great. Jojo's unstoppable.
You know, I just finished up that Stone Ocean. Love me Jolene. Top 5 Jojos for me instantly.
Jolene is fantastic. I really love Jolene, and not just because it's the first lady Jojo. Being locked up in the prison is so cool and weird. She's really hard to top, which is why Steel Ball Run is so impressive, because it just cranks everything up in a completely unexpected direction. I find it weird that you are not reading JoJo. I just why are you not on this?
Well, I guess I got to start reading Steel Ball Run now that I finished. I've caught up with the anime.
No, you need to go back to the beginning and
all the way at the
there.
beginning.
Yes,
I need to start at Phantom Blood.
Yes. Well, I mean, look, here's the thing, and you said this yourself many years ago. People quit when they start with Phantom Blood anime, right? Because they're like, ew, what is this? And I don't begrudge those people because both versions of Phantom Blood are rough. They are rough.
See, I find that so weird because to this day, and I love all of the JoJo that I've watched so far, I really liked Phantom Blood. It's one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, me too. But then my experience is that I read all of the JoJo stuff. Well, not all of it. I read Phantom Blood before I watched the anime, for sure. So I didn't have that particular experience. But I've heard lots of people say they bounced hard off the way Phantom Blood looks.
If we're talking about the manga, I can see that because that was obviously, before Araki's style had evolved and he was pitching the comic at a time when his editors were saying, we need something that is like Fist of the North Star, because that's what's super popular right now.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Yeah, we need big beefy boys.
Yeah, and boy do we ever.
Yeah, and he's great at that. He's like, I can do that. Oh, I can do that.
Oh, I can do that.
I can do that for sure. And I think people get the wrong impression from the anime because they see sort of all the things that are wrong with that particular era of anime. And that's why I think people should read the manga first, and then continue to read a manga, and then read all the way to the issues that are releasing now.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, if you want me to start reading JoJo, like, that's a commitment.
Yeah, everybody says that. People say the same thing about One Piece, but it's like, bro, if you just start reading One Piece, you will not be able to put it down. I promise you. It will feel short. It does not drag. It's a fucking page turner. And JoJo is too. You will blast through JoJo and you'll be like, I can't believe there's not more JoJo. Why is there not more JoJo? I promise you.
Well, all right. I guess I'll read JoJo.
You read JoJo, handsome and beautiful listeners. You also read JoJo. Everybody should be reading JoJo. It's perfect. Let's get JoJo so popular that they have to make more live action movies.
Oh, yeah, I think that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure as a franchise could really use the boost from our listeners.
Every dollar counts.
I'm not saying we're not doing good work, but are we? Are we doing good work?
We're doing work for sure. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I can answer the rest of that. Okay.
All right, is that it for now? That feels like it's it.
I think we can call it.
Yeah.
That's a lot. I'm glad you finally got through the JoJo thing. I'm glad you finally watched another live action adaptation. We have more to get through, including like 4 more Tomie movies, by the way.
Did we decide on doing all the Tomie movies? That's too much, man.
I'm going to do at least one more.
How different can they get? I'm
going to find out. I'm going to answer that question for myself.
Okay.
I've got one more lined up. I know we've got some more. You still got to watch that. Now that you've made your way through, 1.5 Takashi Miike adaptations, you've still got to watch.
I'm never going to live that down.
Blade of the Immortal. No, nor should you. Jesus Christ. You've got to watch Blade of the Immortal, which is one that does not require a sequel. Completed story, which is great.
You love it when stories finish.
I do love a story that finishes. And then, of course, you can watch Ace Attorney right after that. You've got more to get through.
I mean, did he do Ace Attorney?
Yeah, he did Ace Attorney.
Wow, okay.
He did all the ones. I mean, he really did. Most anime adaptations are done by Takashi Miike.
He's just the guy. He's the man.
Yeah. The vast majority of anime adaptations are Takashi Miike films.
Let's say goodbye to our young and beautiful listeners.
Okay.
And encourage them to check out the TikTok at Anime Death Spiral.
All right.
Doing the things.
Oh, God. Doing the things. Please harass Nate into doing more of the things. I'm begging you. I can't be the only one. He doesn't listen to me anymore, clearly.
I've grown beyond my chains.
Yeah,
I've become sentient, father.
He's the goldfish getting too big for his bowl. Okay. Oh my God. Well, I'll try to watch some more anime for next time. I have a couple more things, new things. I was thinking about giving that Onimusha adaptation an episode 1 at least.
Oh, Onimusha anime.
Yeah, remember that game from like 20 years ago?
That's that could be interesting. I would like to look into more anime adaptations of video games.
Yeah, we can maybe we'll make a list and we'll kind of talk about that. But but that Blue Eye Samurai, I was thinking about watching some of that. That actually looked kind of interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I think I have some other stuff on the docket, but we'll talk about that on a different episode.
I don't know. We'll find something to fill the void until the winter season kicks off.
Yeah, like one of the incredible anime that are currently running. That would be cool. Wow. Okay. All right. Let's get out of here. That's Anime Death Spiral. You know what to do.
Bye.
I'm mentally ill.